GDay Swingers, and good morning. It is Friday, August the 18th. Welcome to episode 28, where we've got a part two of a guest we had on, probably about 6 or 7 episodes back. I call it WA Crime and Time. We have with us again today is Mr Brad Nicolaides. Before we get into that, we're going to thank a few of our sponsors, which of course is Macca's Storm Video Studio, Monash Road, Gladesville. Of course, our friends at the Bite Cafe, also on Monash Road at Gladesville. Great food, great coffee, great service, and the weekends they have the Korean barbecue. We appreciate their service, and also some wonderful people that also given us some support, who are great friends of mine as well in Gladesville, Flagstaff Street, Gladesville Village Shopping Centre. All good plate, all good coffee and food. The team there are fantastic. Sonny, Chef Ryan, Anna, and the young ladies. And they do special stuff, all your favourites, chicken burger, hamburgers, and they also have a Korean influence there. So that's all good plate, great coffee and food. They're at Gladesville, in Gladesville Shopping Village. Give them a try, Swingers. It's absolutely spectacular, and I highly recommend their soup. I'm a soup person, and their soup is absolutely fantastic. Right, thank you to all those people. Today we're getting into it, a part two with Brad Nicolaides. We've had Brad on before, as I said, a while ago now, 6 or 7 episodes back. Also with Brad, we have another co-star. G'day, Rocky. This is Brad's dog, Rocky. Rocky's joined us in the studio today. G'day, mate. He's thirsty at the moment. And so we're going to have a chat with Brad today. And we're going to do a bit more on Freemantle Jail. We have quite a few of the swingers who are very interested in WA crime. Eventually, I would like to get to every state and cover a bit of crime in every state. Rocky's getting a bit excited there, but that's going to take some time, Swingers. We also have a couple of crackers coming up shortly as well. So without further ado, I want to say good morning to Brad Nicolaides. G'day, Brad. Welcome back, mate.
G'day, buddy.
Part two, mate. You're a fucking legend.
Pleasure to be here.
Oh,
mate.
good on you, mate. And we've got, as I said, we've got Rocky. Rocky's getting a bit excited there, a bit thirsty, and he's a champion. He's a young bloke, isn't he?
Yeah,
So,
he's only
yeah.
8 months old.
8 months. It's like your son. They become like your son, mate. So,
Yeah.
so when we'll settle Rocky down there for a second, then what we'll like to do is, Brad.
He's fascinated with the plate.
He's into it, isn't he? He's
He
into
was
it.
good at the start.
Good boy. Good boy. That's all right, mate. Calm down. Good boy. Yeah, Brad bought him with Rocky today because he had to be supervised, a little fella. He's still only a young pup, so. All right, let's get into it for our crime fans. It's great to have Brad back. What I wanted to do, Brad, was kick off a little bit where we left off, a bit more on Freemantle Jail. Brad was in the Old Freemantle Jail. We're going to do a bit on that and other jails. What I'd like to start with, mate, too, is prison barneys, yard barneys, scraps, anything like that you've been involved in or you've witnessed. And we'll start with Freo, and Brad's been in just about every jail in Western Australia. He's done a total of around 27 years. And what do you reckon, mate? We'll kick off with a bit of that. We've got some of the swingers are big WA crime fans. So
Okay, mate.
yeah. So look, he's settled down a bit now. So whenever you're ready, mate, dive in. Dive in.
It's always, in my opinion, there's a fine line between telling a story and telling on someone.
Yep.
So what I'm going to do is not going to mention names. And
Absolutely,
all that type
mate.
of thing.
You can call it Mickey Mouse.
Unless, of course, they may be deceased or they're friends of mine that they wouldn't mind their names. I know they wouldn't mind their names being mentioned and that, you know.
Yeah, sure. No, that's fine, mate. Absolutely.
Or nothing that's not public record.
Yep.
Type of thing.
No worries at all.
You know what I mean? So I was in Fremantle from 1985 until 89, and the first time.
Yep.
And during that time, Brendan Abbott, you've probably heard of him.
I have, yep.
He escaped.
Mm-hmm.
He escaped, and before that, they had a riot there, and it was just by luck that I got transferred to Canning Vale the day before.
Right.
And the place was at boiling point, mate. You know, it was one of those hot summers, 40 degrees every day. The place never got a chance to cool down.
Yeah.
All the boys, you know, they were on edge, and the screws had been
arseholes and
belt and crims and all that type of thing, taking them down the back. And there was a real Scottish influence of prison officers back then. They used to call them the Purple Circle. And
hard old concept.
They're all Scottish.
Yeah.
They're all Scottish, and all born in Scotland, and come over here. And their fathers had probably been in the prison system over in Scotland, and they've come over here and
set them up with a job and
formed a cartel here. You know what I mean? And they used to like handing out the biff. I don't know if I spoke to you last time about they killed a bloke in.
You mentioned that, but I wanted you to tell us that story. Yeah.
I wasn't there when it actually happened.
Right.
But I've heard from first-hand accounts from Peter and Ray Mickelberg, who actually testified at his coronial inquest.
Yeah, right.
The bloke's coronial inquest, and it's a different time back then.
What happened there, mate? He fucked up. Someone fucked up big time on the bloke that got knocked.
Well, this is what this Purple Circle used to do. They thought they were untouchable because the coppers would rarely investigate. Back then, you got to understand, it was a different time.
Absolutely.
And the media even were complicit in covering things up. They never used to report on big things, and the only time they'd report would be on things that were favourable to the system. Like look at our hero prison officers, and
or some new program they're pushing.
And they'd very, very rarely cause any controversy, you know. And so they got that brazen. Anybody who they perceived wasn't towing the line, they'd take them out after lock-up, drag them out of the cells, take them down to New Division, and give them a bashing with the batons. And that night it was Ray's turn, and they've unlocked him, and he struggled, and they gave a baton across his throat and strangled him to death, crushed all his larynx and that. And then it got.
So how do you cover that up, mate? Like, he fell down the stairs or something?
At the coroner's court, it was death by misadventure or something.
Misadventure,
because he struggled. It was his fault for struggling. If he hadn't struggled,
he wouldn't have got killed.
They put it across as they're just doing their job.
Yep.
You know, they've made up all this rubbish about he had to be disciplined or something. He was being belligerent, so we've dragged him out after lock up, and he struggled. And we've had to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're talking about a bloke that's shackled by the legs, shackled by the hands.
Fucking bastards.
And it's his fault because he struggled.
Or he told him to fuck off or something.
He strangled himself. He must have
strangled himself. That's right. Yeah, he killed himself.
He did.
Yeah.
Well, that sort of thing.
That sort of shit they want you to swallow.
Used to go down. People used to swallow it with, you know what I mean, with gravy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's murder. That's murder. Yeah. Really, they murdered the cunt.
But he must have done something to them.
He must have done something to piss him off, but he didn't deserve to lose his life. Yeah.
That's what you know what I mean, the conservative Australian view was back in them days.
Them days, I mean? 85 was different.
And there was no accountability. You know what I mean? And
these days it's far more PC stuff. And
I'll tell you a story about a bloke. He was a good mate of ours. His name was Kevin Nolan. I can mention his name. He's deceased now. Poor old Kev. And he was in Freo with us, and he was originally a Melbourne crim, and he come over and he got done for a heap of bank robberies. He dressed up in theatre makeup.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah. A bloke called Mick Maskell, and they'd run in and rob the banks. And anyway, he ended up getting 12 years, and he was a bit of a, you know what I mean, could take care of himself, and he'd been in Pentridge and that. And back then, you had people out they'd just lock you out in the yard. After you come out of the cells in Fremantle,
yep,
they'd just put you all out in the yard unless you had a job, and you'd march off in single line and you'd go to the job. It was quite like military, the way they'd have them marching around and that. And the same used to go on in Queensland and Bogger Road and that. I think Bogger Road they used to have to salute them, I think.
John Killick was saying that a while ago. In the early days, they had to salute in the 60s and 70s, the guards. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
You know, I mean, Jesus.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And anyway, Kev used to run the cards there. You know, everyone's stuck in the yard all day, so let's gamble.
Yeah, there's fuck all else to do. Yeah.
Let's try and get money off it. That they only get $8 a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a way to pass the time, and it caused a lot of trouble. I've seen a lot of fights over that in main division in Fremantle over gambling debts and that. And Kev used to run the table there, the Manila table. They'd have do you know
I don't know.
Manila?
Nah, mate. I'm not, I don't. I used to play.
It's like a poker
pontoon
game.
Or something.
It's like a poker game.
Yeah.
And anyway, Kev was locked up because he belted this chief officer there that was head of the Purple Circle. He actually belted him, and
that was a bad move.
Yeah, but Kev was big. He was about 6'5" and
heavy set.
And, come from Irish background, so he had red hair and big red goatee.
Naked knuckle, mate. Irish background. Yeah.
And look what he's done to his bowl, Macca.
Oh, so fuck. He's got right in. I think he just dropped his guts too, mate. I didn't want to say anything. Yeah. Sorry, Swingers. We've got a good dog here. We've got a farting dog here.
Anyway, after Freo closed, they built a place, or while Freo was still open, they built a place called Casuarina. And Freo closed in October 91, and that's when Casa opened up.
Right.
They transferred everyone over. And
thinking it's got to be better than Freo, sort of thing.
Well, mate, it was a brand new nick, and it was set out different. Like Fremantle was from the Victorian times.
Yep.
It'd be before even.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And the convicts built it.
Yeah. I know it's a really old jail.
They've still got
saying
it there.
Open shitters.
They've still got it. Yeah, they didn't have
open sewage.
they just open
That's
sewage
disgusting.
and buckets in your cell. No running water. Up until '83, they didn't even have electricity in the cells. You used to have to buy these black and white TVs that were powered by batteries, ever-ready batteries.
Oh, that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
Fuck.
And it wasn't until '83 they got power cords there in the cells, you know. And but give me a choice between the system back then and the system. I'll take the system back then any
That's
day.
it. That's interesting. Yeah.
That's it.
Right.
Because there was still a few things universal things that could stay amongst men that would be understood. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
But nowadays, it's everyone's worried about covering their own arse and all that type of shit. But anyway, once we were in Casuarina, they brought out a policy there where it was called the predator policy, and their protection yard was getting fuller and fuller with, you know, people telling on people and having to go and hide in the protection, and tamperers and rapists and that. So they brought out this predator policy that if you did an act of violence against another prisoner because of his crime, they'd lock you up in seg, and you couldn't have access to the canteen while you're down there. So they'd take all your spends off you. All your
privileges and that, yeah.
And you couldn't have visits. They'd take your contact visits off you.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, so just come down on you hard for about 30 different punishments for one infraction. You know what I mean?
And it'd do your head in too. You like losing all your privileges. Well, there's not many anyway to start, is there? You know?
Well, what's happened is a few of these pedophiles that have come in, they thought that they could, because when these pedophile types come into the system at reception, the screws know what they're in for, and they'll offer them protection.
Yeah, right.
And they say, because of what you're in for, you know, and some of them think they can slide through the system without being in protection and lie about what their crime is.
Yep.
And just lie to everyone and think they can
get away with it.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, come 1993, Kev's got about 18 months to go on his 12 years.
Yep.
And he's got 2 kids outside. And he finds out that one of them was raped by a scoutmaster. And so he's devastated. Everyone knew, because he's a pretty popular prisoner.
Yep.
Everyone knew what had happened, that his kid had been messed around with, you know what I mean, and everyone, you know. Well, a few months later, this scoutmaster comes into the prison and refuses to go to protection.
Oh, fuck, this will be interesting.
Refuses to go to protection. And Kev has got 18 months to go, so automatically he thinks this is the bloke that messed around with his kid.
Yep.
And he thinks that the screws are trying to set him up to harm this bloke so they can lengthen his sentence.
Yeah, right.
So Kev actually does the right thing. He approaches the screws and he says to him, "You want to get this bloke out of here because he tampered with me kid.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna I'll fucking kill him. I'm gonna kill him."
Most fathers would be the same. Fuck.
Well, most people wouldn't. Yeah. A lot of people wouldn't even go and tell the screws. You know. What I mean?
Yeah. He's made an effort.
He's gone and told them. He's gone and told them 2 or 3 times. You know.
And they thought that was
they've
nothing.
Just said
dismissed it.
It's not him. It's not the same bloke. It's not the same bloke. So, well, he thinks they're lying to him. So,
Rocky.
what he does one day, this bloke used to go to education, this pedophile.
Yeah, right.
And he'd go to the education and just walk down there and walk back at 3:30 when everyone comes back to the blocks. The industries come back and the education closes. Well, Kevin made up 2 shanks and had them taped to his hands and was waiting in ambush for this bloke. And sure enough, he's come, because it was a big open plan prison then. You could walk everywhere, anywhere you wanted.
And the word's out all over the place about this guy. I
It
presume.
changed after the riot. They put all fences around all the units and that.
Yeah, right.
It's all different. But back then in '93, it was like a university campus.
Yeah,
you
right.
could walk anywhere.
Yep.
Unabated. You know?
Yeah.
So Kev's waiting in ambush for this bloke. This bloke comes. They had pergolas out the front of each unit.
Yeah, right.
And Kev's come from the pergola outside Unit 3 and just attacked this bloke and just stabbed him in the neck first and then got him down.
So this bloke wouldn't have known what hit him, mate.
Nah.
It's like a freight train coming
exactly,
at him. Yeah.
Exactly. And Kev's got him down and he's on top of him and he's just the throat and the screws are come running but they're all back 20 metres. They won't approach him.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And he's just going to town on this bloke, and there's arterial blood sprays going, and this woman's screw she spewed up, and then this other screw spew up, and then you can see this bloke's dead. All the meat in his neck's gone. And
once
then,
you cut the main arteries,
then you could hear the blades going across the bloke's spine
up to the neck. Yeah.
And he's trying to get the head. He's trying to cut with, but the knives aren't sharp enough to cut through the
bone bit.
Backbone there. And because you could see what he wanted to do. He wanted to get the bloke's head off and then hold it.
Yeah.
That's what he was trying to do. That's what he was trying to do. And as I said, it's an open plan jail, so everyone's coming back from work, so everyone's out, everyone's witnessing this.
Everyone's just standing there
in
going,
front of the whole jail.
The fuck's going down? Yeah.
Exactly. What a trip it was. I can still remember it like it was yesterday.
And the big tough screws are all chucking up and...
Yeah.
Big tough screws.
And they're not even coming over to save the old pedophile.
Yeah.
The only good move they
How
ever
old
made.
was this bloke? Was he be 50s or
40s,
something, I suppose? Yeah, 40s, yeah.
Anyway, he had a good 10 minutes on this bloke, you know, and then he's just got up. Oh, he was covered. Yeah. And then he's got up, and where segregation bit is, it's about 100 metres from where Kev is with the body. Yep. He just got up and started walking towards the segregation.
Yep.
And the screws have just all started walking behind him. So there's a big mob of screws walking, but they're...
And he's just covered.
But none of them are brave enough to even go near him. They're still hanging back off him 15 metres.
Yeah.
Because he's got two shanks in his hands still.
And he's covered in a bloke's blood, yeah.
And they phoned their heads and they've got the door open to the seg bit, so he just walked in and they've opened the seg cell and he's just walked himself into the seg cell and they've locked the door. Then they realised he's still got the shanks on him.
Yep.
So they got the ESG, which is like the riot squad.
They come down with all the gear
and they
10 blokes on
chucked a percussion grenade in there.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Imagine that in such a small cell. Imagine the
like a tear gas type thing.
No, percussion grenade. It disorientates you.
Oh fuck.
Knocks you out, like virtually knocks you off balance, so they can
jump all over you. Yeah.
Busted his eardrum. Busted his eardrum. So anyway, one less pedophile. It turns out it was the screws weren't lying to him when they said it was the different bloke, because it wasn't. It was a different bloke. It was still a pedophile and it was still a scoutmaster, but there were two scoutmasters that were pedophiles.
Oh, you're joking.
And yeah,
it wasn't the one.
It wasn't the one that messed around with his kid. No.
Oh fuck.
No, but he thought it was.
But having said that, it's one less.
And then what happened was outside, all the boys in the criminal circles that had been through jail and that, they all knew Kevin that, so they had a big function and raise money for his lawyers.
For his defence, yeah.
For his lawyers, yeah. And he ended up pleading guilty, of course, but he got 10 years. He had to do another 10 years. And in 2005, I'd come back in 2002, and I was at Hakea on remand in 2005. And Kev's turned up from Albany, and I hadn't seen him for 8 or 9 years.
Yep.
He was still the same, a big red-headed Irishman, you know.
Yeah,
but he'd sort of mellowed a bit, you know. And he was getting out. He was getting out. That's why they brought him down from Albany.
He would have been happy.
But he was being deported. Now, he's been in Australia since he was 1 year old, but he was born in England.
Yeah.
So they've said, yeah, you finish your time, but we're deporting you back to England. He didn't know a soul.
I was going to say, you've been lost. It's like being lost in a foreign country, isn't it?
He didn't know anyone. So he, a good mate of mine at the time was, a very good mate of mine was there at Hakea with me. And he was one of the original blokes outside that had raised money for him.
Yep.
When he was going to court. And he was big in the boxing game, this mate of mine.
Yep.
So he'd had a world champion boxer, welterweight, called Chris John, that had the unified title for 13 years. And so he knew, through his boxing connections, he knew some people in England.
Right.
So he's rung them up, got in contact with them from Hakea.
Yep.
Got their phone numbers and rung them up and said, we've got this bloke, he's getting deported, can you pick, he doesn't know a soul, can you look after him?
Yeah, yeah.
So at least Kev had someone to pick him up.
Yeah. They were happy with that.
But the tragedy of the story is that 6 months later he was dead.
Ah, fuck.
Of skin cancer.
Because
he used to...
What did he serve all up, roughly, Brad? How long you reckon?
12 and then another 10, so 22.
22 years, yeah.
22,
fuck.
yeah.
It's a fair wallop, yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And, yeah...
6 months out and he's dead.
6 months later he died of melanoma.
Ah, fucking hell.
Because what he used to do, because he was, you know, well respected and that, he used to do all the umpiring. Like he was the biggest unco sportsman you ever seen in your life. He was uncoordinated, but people would listen to him. Yep. And the biggest problem in jail sports is having someone respect the umpire. The only way they're going to respect the umpire is out of a bit of fear.
Yep, yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't have some bloke umpiring in a jail thing that you know what I mean, that can't fight because they won't listen to them.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
The only thing some of these people understand is a, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
A couple of cut lunches.
Yeah, that's right. Excuse me, sorry, I'm choking. Yeah.
So, Casuarina, you know, started off like a university, and then they had a riot there in '97.
Righto.
And that was
just
that
about
wasn't
conditions.
Planned. No, that wasn't planned. Nothing. It kicked off over medication because some blokes had missed out. It was Christmas time, and some blokes had been waiting for some drugs to come in, and their visitors got pinched or something at the gate. So the drugs weren't in the jail.
Yep.
So when the medication, like Sheila's come around with the medication trolley, they've bloody ambushed the screw and got all the medications out and handed it all out to the jail, and they've gone on a big riot and smashed the whole jail up, all peeled off their heads. Hell. All peeled off their heads.
How long did that go for, mate?
It went for about a day.
Yeah, right.
And there's a video about it. There's a doco about it.
Oh shit! Yeah.
And
what do you do in a riot situ? Like, you know, I mean, you don't want to personally put more time and getting more shit, and you know what I mean. You sort of, well, fuck, what am I going to do here? You know.
well, you know, depends.
It's cunts running around everywhere, and you
If
sort
it's
of
like an organised thing and you're part of it and you're doing it for a reason, well,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't get involved in something like that there that happened at Casuarina because
it'll fuck
you
your
know,
sentence.
It
as well.
started off over a few junkies wanting some pills, you know what I mean? Because they couldn't get their drugs and they've kicked off the old jail. And destroyed the old jail because what's happened is they locked the whole jail down for about a year and a half while they built fences around, barbed wire, razor wire fences around each individual unit.
Yeah, right.
So from then on you couldn't mingle,
roam around,
you know?
Which really fucks it up for everybody else, doesn't it?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
There's that Rocky there.
Stuff the whole jail up, you know?
Yeah.
And then what's happened is, as it's gone on and on and on, and things happen, it just gets a bit worse and worse and worse and harder to live comfortably.
Yep.
Because they don't want you living comfortably.
Yeah, that's right.
Especially in an overt way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, fuck it.
And then the media turns to reporting little luxuries that happen in jail.
Yep.
To get the public all
G'd up
and next thing that's shut down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's watching a big screen TV or something. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that's how it's gone to. And then towards the end of my sentence, because this last sentence that I did, the long one, the 12 years, I was at Casuarina for a long while, and because that's the main maximum jail.
Yep.
And I told you about my escape and all that type of thing.
Yeah, that was gold in
and
the first one.
So I couldn't get minimum.
Yeah.
They wouldn't give me minimum. So I was happy to stay Casuarina because I made myself comfortable there.
Yep.
In the end, eventually I ended up getting to the self-care.
Yep.
In the last couple of years.
Yep.
Which is
keep your snout clean and just finish it.
Oh, you just get smarter, and you know, a lot of the screws know you because I served 28 years.
Yep.
I'm starting to see a lot of their sons coming through, and they've heard it. So there's half of the screws that sort of like you, and others half hate you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And half of them will turn a blind eye and might even help you.
Yep.
Some of them. But the rest of them will try and stick it up your ass every chance that they get.
Yeah.
You know? And I'll tell you a funny story. I got it to, there was this bloke, and he got caught. He had a hanger. At Jandakot Airport.
Yep.
In Perth.
He had a hangar at the airport.
He had a hangar.
Yeah,
he had his own plane.
He had
his own plane. Yeah, he come from a very rich family.
Fuck.
Down in the southwest. I won't mention his name.
Yeah, no worries.
But he come from a very, very rich family. And this bloke had a hangar there because he'd fly down. His parents' property down in the southwest had their own airstrip and all that type of thing.
Yeah,
they were that
places
rich.
have that.
You know what I mean? They were that rich.
There's a lot of wealth in WA. Fuck.
Yeah. And what's happened is this bloke, I used to call him a mad scientist because there wasn't much that he didn't know about, you know, in technical things. And he could make his own guns. In fact, he was making his own guns at the hangar.
Yep.
He turned it, the hangar, he put a mezzanine floor and put a little bed up there. And
So he made his little apartment.
and guess who used to live? Guess who had the hangar right next door to him?
Gina?
The WA police.
Oh,
The Western
you
Australia police.
really?
The Western Australian police.
What, for their choppers and
for their
stuff?
choppers and their planes, and that. They got the big hangar.
Fuck.
So he was on a first name basis with them.
Oh, right.
Right.
Fucking hell.
Let's call him Bill.
Right, yeah.
Let's call him Bill. Right. So he'd come in and he'd walk past.
So Bill's
him,
seen opportunity.
And the coppers would see him and they'd say, "G'day, Bill," and he'd say, "G'day, detective," or whoever you are. And
yeah.
anyway, so he had the hangar there for 10 years.
Fucking hell.
And he was making ice there because he got himself
Next to the coppers.
next to the coppers. Next to the coppers. But just enough for himself and maybe a little bit for his friends.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? And he was making guns there. He made a machine gun as well.
Fucking
He made a
hell.
machine gun.
He's
And
a
this-
cluey bloke.
And this thing was, you know, it could fire. It was a good machine gun,
Yeah.
you know.
Fuck.
Anyway, how it's all come about is he had a friend. And because he's rich and that, and he's a bit green, he's a bit of a soft touch
Yep.
with some of his friends, you know.
Yeah.
And one of his friends was an accountant, owed him $10,000. So the friend couldn't pay, so he give him this car to drive around in, one of those Nissan 300 things.
Oh, righto. Flashy sort of car at the time.
Yeah, a bit of a sports car type of thing.
Yep.
This would have been 2010,
Righto.
2011. And so he starts driving around, this Bill starts driving around in this car that he's got off his mate that owes him the money. Little does Bill know, this car, the number plates have been tagged as a Bikie Associates car.
Oh, fuck.
Because the bloke that owned the car was friends with a bikies and was going, and was going to the clubhouse. So they'd written the plate down. So and they'd put an alert on it. So all of a sudden, Bill's driving his car around. And he's driving it into Jandakot Airport heaps of times, and he's got gang crime squad following him around, unbeknownst to him. But he's still waving at the cop, you know what I mean? Well, then they raise his thing, and it's big news because his family, because at first they've frozen all of his family's property and that, and it come to about $30-40 million worth. But the way they've reported it, it's like 30 or 40 million in illicit money.
Yeah.
It's been frozen.
Like he had it stashed or something,
But it's just the property that's been in the family, because they had a big business down there, and anyway,
so he got pinched.
So he's been pinched, and he's turned up at Casuarina.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't give him bail, because it was huge news at the time, especially having the hangar next door to the coppers. That was like a fun fact.
Yeah. But the coppers weren't happy about it, but it makes them look stupid.
And you know, the media beat it right up. You know, make the coppers look like they've got big eggs on their faces. You know.
Yeah.
He's been saying, "Oh, this bloke the whole time he's making machine guns and cooking speed right next to us."
Right, and saying good morning. Yeah.
Anyway,
so what happened there? Fuck.
I was in a cell by myself. I'd managed to wrangle it, because the majority of people got to share cells, but you can, if you know what to do, you can get yourself a single cell.
Yeah, right.
So I just, but it still had a bunk bed, a spare bed in there.
Yeah.
You know? Well, one of the bikies that this bloke is, one of the bikies from the gang that this bloke is alleged to be an associate of there, is a friend of mine.
Right, yeah.
So he come to me and said, this bloke because they mentioned that gang's name in the report, you know what I mean, in the media.
Yeah.
And this mate of mine's never heard of this bloke before in his life.
Yeah.
But he's not sure. It might be someone that needs to be looked after, as in it might be someone that he doesn't know about because he's in charge. So he's come to me and said, because they put this bloke inside my block.
Yep.
And can you look after him? So I've taken him in.
Yeah.
I've put him in, I've let him
In the other
come
bunk.
inside, yeah. And next thing, and I'm trying to school this bloke, and then we find out what the link is. It took about 2 days to find out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not actually got any to do with that club.
With the
but
bikies and yeah.
the bloke who's owned the car did. You know what I mean?
Fucking cunt, yeah.
But my mate said, we'll still look after him type of thing, you know, and he was trying to get bail.
Yep.
But every day he's getting called up down to the official visits. And after the second or third day, I said to him, where are you going to? Who's coming in to see you, mate? Is it lawyers? He goes, nah, it's the coppers. I said, is that green, this bloke, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
He didn't think he was doing nothing wrong. I said, what are they coming in for? He goes, oh, they're just asking if I'm happy the way I was treated and all that. I said, what, they're coming in for 3 days?
That's fishy.
To ask about that.
Yeah, something stinks.
And, and then I mentioned it to my mate, who, the bikie bloke. He goes, tell him not to fucking go out there. So I told him, I said, don't go. But he kept going out there.
Stop
and
talking. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he got bail. So the perception was that he's made some story up, but we don't know what he could know because he doesn't even know them people, you know what I mean? So anyway, that was the perception, that he'd worked some deal out with him because all of a sudden he couldn't get bail, then all of a sudden he could get bail and he got out. And he goes, oh, thanks for looking after me, mate. I'll fucking do this and I'll do that for you. I said, yeah.
What was he only in there a couple of weeks, Brad?
He was only there for 2 weeks.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah.
And he done it like a king because I looked after him.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Big difference.
Yeah, someone
Big
takes you under
Macca.
fucking oath.
Someone takes you under their wing where you just lob there and you got no one.
You got no
you
support,
got nothing.
shit yourself.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, fucking
And a
oath.
bloke like him, he probably would have copped it too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And anyway, I never hear from this bloke, nothing. I even forget about him. For 2 years, I don't hear nothing. In 2011, I'm in the self-care, and the screws call my name up to go to 5 block, which is like an induction block.
Yeah.
Everyone gets sent there when they first come in, if they're mainstream, you know. And they said, they want you at 5 block, there's a bloke that's just come in and knows you, and they want you to go down there or something. So I've gone down there.
This is 2 years after.
This is 2 years later.
Yeah, right.
I've forgotten all about this bloke.
Yeah.
And it's this bloke.
You thought, fuck.
It's this bloke, this Bill, all right? And he's going, oh, have you got any smokes? I said, fuck, you'd be a nice cunt, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I said, what about all them promises that you said this and that?
Yeah.
Oh, I was writing you a card, I was going to send it.
No, you weren't. You were having a good time. You can't, and you didn't give a shit.
Exactly. Yeah. And so now he's getting a taste of what it's like to come into jail without any support.
Any help.
Right?
Yeah, you're on your own,
help,
mate.
right?
Yeah.
And they chuck him into 2 block, which is like a slum, the slums.
What did he do, mate? 2 years later, what did he do to get back
Well,
in?
what's
Something
happened,
small? Or?
What's happened is he ended up going to court on those charges, the gun that he made and the small amount of ice that he'd made, right? And it all got worked out. His family got all the money back. They unfroze all the assets because they worked out it had nothing to do with the family. And then he ended up going to court and he got a good report, you know, because he comes from a good millionaire's family and that. they would have had the whole country town writing letters about him. You know, the Golden Child just took a wrong turn.
Yep.
Your Honour. Went left instead of going right. It'll never happen again.
Yeah.
And they give him a suspended sentence, 2-year suspended sentence,
right.
And let him out.
Yeah.
Well, the Crown appealed. So we got the perception of this, we think this bloke was no good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But in actual fact, there was nothing he could tell him anyway.
Yeah,
because he didn't know, he was just doing it himself. But it looked that way.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And then what's happened is the Crown appealed and give him 2 years with parole.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Turned it into a custodial sentence.
Yeah, right.
Said, no, this is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he thought he was home free.
Yeah.
So he was lucky that happened because that made everyone in the jail see that he wasn't a fucking dog.
Yeah,
he wasn't, you know what I mean? He hadn't done a deal because the Crown don't appeal against sentences when they done deals.
Right.
They're all one big team.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're all one big team. The team captain's not going to, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, in the meanwhile, this bloke every day he's calling me up. He's coming because it's like rec time when they can have a bit of movement.
Yeah.
And he's calling me up. Oh, can you borrow me this? Some
He's
smokes?
thinking back to like, oh, you looked after me. You looked after me again.
And he goes, oh,
sorry, mate.
Can you get me up where you are? That looks. I said, yeah, because you cook your own food and everything there. And I said, probably could, but fuck it. It'll cost you. It'll cost you.
Yeah.
You know?
Where have you been
and
for 2 years?
He goes, what will it cost? I go, I don't know, mate. I'll have to find out because I said, I've got a screw up there that, because to get up the bit where I was, takes about 1.5 years waiting list.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? And it's a big.
Got to work your way. Yeah.
Well, I had this screw that I've known for years, and he'd do me favours.
Yep.
Like put blokes to the front of the list in things and all that type of thing if I asked him.
Yeah.
And that, you know. So I said to this Bill bloke, I'll find out, you know. So I come back to him the next day. I said, listen, I could probably get you up there in a week or something, but you have to go 2 out with a bloke.
Yeah.
But mate, it's going to cost you big. He goes, how much? I said, 20 grand.
Yeah.
And he goes, yep.
Fair income straight away. So he got the readies.
No worries.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So he thought I had a screw there, but
You
paying
didn't.
the screw. But he's paying me. Right. So the next day I give him the bank account number.
Yeah.
And the next day it was $19,990 in
that account.
Yeah. And
Fuck. Yeah.
I got him moved up there about 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
And he thought the money had gone to the screw, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I got him to give me a little bit more money.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? And I didn't have to spend nothing the whole time he was there, you know?
Yeah. So he was all
and
right.
I ended up getting kicked out of there. I ended up getting bloody surrounded by the riot squad and moved to another jail.
Right.
Out of jealousy, out of people, out of this one bloke who everyone thought was a good bloke, turned out he was one of the biggest dogs going around.
Fuck.
And this bloke used to hang with some serious people.
Yeah, right.
Got done with 65 kilos or something of ecstasy or something.
Fuck, that's a lot. Yeah.
Federal offence and that.
That's a lot
and
of
only
drugs.
served 9 years.
Yeah,
only
right.
served 9 years. And then it came out why? Because he'd told on all these people.
He ratted to get reduced. Yeah.
And then it turns out he was behind getting me moved out of there.
Yeah, right. So you moved on and that bloke was still there, the bloke you were just telling us about? When they moved you on,
dog?
was he? Yeah, no, the bloke that got 2 years, that you got the 19,
Yeah,
20. He was still there when they moved you,
Yeah.
But he was all right. He did his time and he was all right.
Yeah, but this bloke was jealous about him too, about him giving me all the money.
Yeah, right.
he wanted me out of the way.
Yeah, right.
So he's gone and told them everything I'm up to
Yeah.
around there, around the jail, and got me shanghaied. They called me in the office one night, just on lock-up,
Yeah.
and all the goon squad were there in their helmets and that, and they come out. We were no trouble, Brad, and they put me in the handcuffs. And
You're almost thinking, what's
took
going
me down
on
the
here?
back,
Yeah, yeah.
and they said, they didn't even tell me why.
Yeah.
They said, they've had an administration meeting on you, and we come here at this time, so because we know you're pretty manipulative and you might have been able to get it stopped.
Yep.
So that's why they've done it right on the death knock.
Yep.
And they fucking moved me to another maximum down the country.
Yep. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
right.
Away from me power base and
Start again, sort of thing,
well,
yeah.
I only had a year and a half left.
Yeah, right,
you know,
yeah.
But it was, they know where to hurt you.
Excuse me,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Because now you're away from the metropolitan area.
Yep.
Your visitors have got to travel 3.5 hours.
They put you up and whoop, whoop.
Four hours
Uh.
to get there.
Yeah,
4 hours from Perth Drive, it is,
yeah,
in Albany.
yeah,
No.
right.
4 hours back.
Yeah.
So
Most people aren't going to be too enthralled to do that.
only special people that are your true friends are going to
do that, yeah.
do that, you know.
And he just served his time, and you don't know what happened to the prick. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone turned on him. But
Yeah,
you know these types, they just got no shame,
Yep.
and they think everyone else is an idiot,
Yeah.
and they stick to the same story. They just lie.
Yeah.
They just lie.
Yeah. Right.
And there's not too many people that are sort of clued on to be able to have had all the experiences that can go, yeah, that bloke's just bullshitting. Because they fucking talk the talk, mate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And then there's this other pedophile at Casuarina. This was a funny one. He
They had a
decided,
few Rockies there, mate, didn't they?
well,
Yeah.
when it first opened up, they thought it was the promised land. They thought they could, because of this policy, this predator policy,
Yep.
they thought they could sneak a few in with the humans.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
But
yeah.
they all got unearthed.
Yeah, good.
And when this bloke got unearthed, he was working in the print shop. And he told everyone he was in for fraud.
Yeah, right.
And then it come out that he'd messed around with a 8-year-old girl.
Oh, fucking hell.
And down at the print shop, they used to do printing.
Yeah.
And there's this special chemical that they got to use to clean the machines down called toluene.
Yeah, right.
It's a special
Real
cleaner.
strong sort of thing,
Well,
yeah.
it's flammable. It's like extremely flammable.
Oh, fuck.
So they got a cup of that. The boys got a cup of that, right?
And a lighter.
And
yeah.
a mop, right?
Yeah, right.
And then lit the mop up, poured the bloody cup of toluene on him, and then touched him with the mop that was
And he
blazing.
went
And
up
he's
like a
gone
firecracker.
He went up like a bloody firecracker. God,
Were you there when they did? Yeah, fucking
and
hell.
then I was working in the print shop.
Yeah.
And then the screw come out. Oh, he wasn't a screw, he was the industrial one that knows about the printing, but he's in a screws uniform too.
Oh, righto, yeah. He like the teacher or something.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
And he's like the boss of the shop, you know?
Yep.
And they used to give us all these clear plastic see-through raincoats.
Yeah.
The first thing this bloke did was everyone's raincoats was on the hangers. He's grabbed one of them raincoats and chucked it on the bloke.
Plastic
raincoat. Thinking,
not the brightest thing to
and
fucking
it
do,
just
yeah.
melted all over him. It made it 30 times or 130,000 times worse, which was good on him.
Yeah. So this cunt's basically melting in front
He
of
melted,
everyone.
he melted. And he was, you should have seen him when he ended up getting out of the burns unit about 12 months later.
Yeah.
And they brought him back to the jail, this time in the protection unit.
Oh,
You used
he
to
would've
see him
looked
when they'd
shocking.
take him, when they'd escort him down to the medics, and he was like the mummy. He was like the mummy.
Yeah.
He was fair dinkum. He was just wrapped in bandages. All around
Burn
his head.
scars, mate, are shocking.
And then later, they, I'd be seeing it, and mate, it was melted.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
melted.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
How old was this bloke? 40s or something, I suppose, middle-aged sort of.
He was
His
no,
predator.
no.
Yeah.
He was in his 20s.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And so he raped an
I know,
8-year-old
bloke,
girl.
Corey, good on you, Corey. Did it.
Yeah, yeah.
Corey.
You can send it. You can send a cheerio. Yeah.
He's out now. He was a lifer. Yeah.
He done it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good one. Yeah. Jesus Christ. So the pedos would get their own eventually. They think they could slip through in this case.
Yeah, but then because they all started getting got, then there's none of them
went into full segregation sort of thing after that. Yeah. I've worked for a place for a while, and I know there was a few pedos that went in. And these days, mate, they're fully segregated. They're all in together, and they're pretty happy. You know, they get treated all right. It's fucking disgraceful, I know.
Macca.
It's fucking disgraceful. One of these blokes was in his 80s, mate, and he'd been fooling around with kids in the 1960s and 70s and that. And he done his time and for another friend I know, and I said, I want nothing to do with the cunt, but he said, oh no, he did it easy. He was all right. He was all right. He didn't get any.
No
he
problem.
said they were all in together, mate.
Yeah.
You know, they could talk their fucking
Well,
filth or whatever.
That's how it's got in there, because the screws, the new breed of screws and all that.
Yep.
They just don't. They'd rather have them because they're compliant.
Yep.
Because the screws have always got it. They got it over them. They're going to say, if you don't do what we tell you, we'll chuck you out there with all the bad.
We'll put
with
you
all
out
the bad
in
men.
the general popo
You know what I mean?
out there, and
And you don't want that.
it's a jungle. It's a jungle. Yeah, you don't want that, do you?
that,
They
do you?
fucking
So who's
shit.
bringing all the drugs in the protection unit?
So
you know
they'd
what I mean?
squeal like a canary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because these people do what they want, and what they've done now over in Western Australian jails is they give them all the key jobs throughout the jail, because they know that they're not going to pilfer things or do favours for their mates for the mainstream.
And have an ear out as well.
Yeah,
Exactly. All that sort of bloody thing,
You know?
Mate,
Because back in the day, you'd have people working in reception that they come and tell you who's on the escort coming, and you could get them to sneak a bit of property out for you, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But all that stops. They put a dog in there, a protection bloke in there, and all that stops.
Yeah. Unbelievable, mate. When we chatted last too, and we were talking a bit about Freo, because it's fucking interesting, Fremantle Jail. It's such an old place, and a couple of the swingers out there are real interested in that. You were telling us about the bloody conditions, like with the fucking open sewer and shit like that, and those buckets. And we didn't go into it full on, but a few stories with those buckets, mate. A few Barneys settled with those buckets, mate.
Yeah,
they were the big fucking metal steel thing, whatever they were.
Steel buckets with steel lids on them, and
that's all we had before all the plastic ones. I remember them as a kid.
I see a few of them get chucked over blokes' heads, you know.
I was going to say, can you tell us any of those bucket stories, like full on? I'd hate to have one of those wrapped around my fucking head, you know.
There was one. There was this bloke. He's still in jail today.
Oh, dead set. Yeah.
He was in for a bad rape and murder.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Bad rape and murder, but he's done. I think he's done something like 40-something years in there. I'd say he'd be the longest serving prisoner in Western Australia. But there was this other bloke. Chiz. He was about 7 foot tall and mad off his head. He was in for blowing up the Kalgoorlie jail.
I did say, fuck it hell.
The jail or the cop shop. He got some explosives from the mines there and blew up.
Did say, fuck it hell. He would have been popular. Yeah.
And this other bloke used to push the weights, because they had a real good gym there, boxing ring, everything back in the day, you know. And this bloke was like a power lifter. This other rapist, killer bloke, he was like and he used to have a few tickets on himself.
Yeah.
And he got in an argument with Big Chiz one day, and they've shaped up, and this bloke's just booted Chiz straight in the nuts.
Fuck. So he's gone down and...
Nah.
No, he didn't?
Nah.
Oh, fucking hell.
Didn't fucking phase him. Didn't phase him. And he's picked up fucking one of them ship buckets were there. And he's just crowned this bloke and just knocked him out. And he was going to pick up a you know them big iron grates that go over the fucking sewers?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they weigh about 80 kilo.
Fuck.
And fully steel. And he was and one of the boys had to grab him because he was gonna finish this bloke. Yeah, he was gonna finish this bloke. And probably should have fucking let him finish him.
How was his head after a whack with a bucket, mate? It sort of popped like a melon. Yeah. It would have been claret all over the place. Yeah.
And his other, no about a ship bucket. I'll tell you one about a big teapot.
Yeah,
big industrial teapot.
I know, like the big one with the big handle. Yeah. Someone copped that.
Yeah, both of these blokes are dead now. One of them's name was Johnny Asiak. And the other bloke, the good bloke called Hogues, rest in peace. And he was one of the Gypsy Jokers, champion bloke.
Bikey,
yeah. And he had a job. He was at the job inside the gym.
Yeah.
And that was a very good job, very prestigious job to have.
Yeah, right.
There was only 3 of them. Hogues had it, and Douchy, and an old Italian called Groffalo. He was the 3rd one. And above the gym are cells.
Yep.
With the door. This Ajax, because he's such a pig, no one would go 2 out with him. So he had a single cell. And what he'd do, he'd have a shit inside they used to give us these milk cartons. They used to give us like a litre of milk.
Oh yeah, in the cardboard carton.
The cardboard carton. Well, he instead of shitting in the shit bucket, he'd shit inside the milk carton.
Oh, fuck it.
He shit inside the milk carton.
That's nice.
And just throw it out through the bars.
Yeah, right.
Into the gym, quadrangle.
Yeah.
And these boys got to clean it up in the morning. The blokes will
What
work
do you
there.
do that for?
And after about the 3rd day in a row that it's happened,
yeah,
Hose is doing a big investigation.
Yeah.
Find out who it is.
Who's
so he's getting everyone's names whose cells are in there.
Yep.
And then mate, had to be.
Yeah.
Because it's what this bloke does.
Yeah.
That's what this bloke does. You know what I mean?
What's he doing it for, Brady? He's just been a dick.
Just a dickhead. He used to run around and sit on young blokes' heads and, oh, mate.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And everyone used to think it was funny, but then it'd go too far and he'd end up getting his head punched in, you know. But he's a big, strong bastard.
Yeah.
And he was the one that swapped the screws for some baked beans and pizza during the riot. They took 6 screws hostage.
Oh, fuck.
And he was playing chess with one of them. There's actually footage of it because they had the helicopters.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
One of the hostages. He's playing chess.
Yeah. And then they swapped him for some food.
Yeah, right.
They swapped one of the hostages for some food. And one of the hostages was a bad dog. They should have done. He was a prosecutor too. But anyway, Hogues is told, who's throwing this shit down the yard, blah, 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 whoever's fucking doing, I'll find out and I'll punch your fucking head in. Well, the next day's happened again, and he's just accused. When he's come back into the main division before lunch, everyone used to go back up to their cells for lunch, he accused Asiak of being the one. And then they had a punch on, and there was this big teapot. It was fucking big. It was
fucking hell. Yeah.
It was about this fucking big.
Yeah, yeah.
And Ajak, he was losing the fight. Hose was punching his fucking head in. But then he's managed to grab this thing and his clock's Hose and open him up with the teapot, you know? And there's all claret everywhere. And,
Fuck. Yeah. And what happened there, mate? He ended up fucking... He
ended up in hospital.
Yeah, he was fucked.
Getting stitched up and
he moved him around.
That bloke, well, it stopped anyway.
Yeah. No more shit. No more milk carton shits. Yeah, fucking hell. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
They're unbelievable, mate. What was Did you spend a bit of time in Kalgoorlie?
Nah.
You didn't?
There's one jail I never ever went to.
Because I know Brad's been the most in WA, I think.
I got shanghaied up to Roban, and it turned out to be the best jail I've ever been to in my life. Ended up having a girlfriend up there and everything.
Yeah, you mentioned it in the first one. You reckon it was a bit of all right, yeah.
Unbelievable.
Mate, in between serving and that, so you're out. Say you're out now. What are you doing business-wise, mate? What are you doing... are you running amok? What sort of things are you doing in between? Like you're not in jail at the moment.
Yeah,
I was going to ask you, what are you doing at your pensions? What are you doing?
Yeah, I've got a few health issues, Macca, at the moment. So I've been having a lot of appointments, doing some tests and that, trying to find out what's wrong with my lungs. Or some lung issues. Yeah.
Oh righto. So yeah.
I haven't been able to do much lately.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh mate, that'll be. You'll be right. You'll come good, mate. You're a big strapping young. Well, we're still young, aren't we, Brad? We're still young, 50s. We're still young, I think, swingers. We'll wrap it up soon. What was one of the other particular jails in WA for our WA fans? What that comes to mind, whether it be a blue or some funny incidences or something like that.
Acacia, it's a big. I think they've got about 2,000 people. 2,000.
Where's that, Brad? Private, outside Perth.
It's a private. It's up at Warraloo, up in the north.
Okay.
And it's a private prison run by Serco, I think.
Yeah, right. Serco. That's a big mob. Yeah.
Yeah, and they've had a lot of problems there.
Yep.
With the staff and that there.
Yeah.
And it's a massive jail.
Yep.
Massive jail. Because the other jails, like, only meant to hold 700-800.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Then you go to a jail that's got 2,000.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Big difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and the difference between the private and the government is huge too, because it's all penny pinching. It's all.
What's the better between a private and government?
The government.
Government one better.
Government,
yeah.
For sure.
Okay. Yeah.
For sure. All day long.
What's with the private? It's still a business, isn't it?
It's a business.
Yeah, they're making money. Yeah,
Exactly.
So the government ones. Yeah.
And they just warehouse people.
Yeah, right.
Know what I mean?
Yeah.
They want you to be in there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's cash for them, mate. It's a cash cow for them. Fucking hell. Yeah. Mate.
Did I tell you about the?
I was going to say, if you want to finish up, we've got to wrap up soon. If you want to finish up on something.
Did I tell you about the bank robbery?
That story.
In a Hay Street.
You might have tapped on it in the first one. It was about 6 or 7 episodes back. But give us a refresher, mate, and we'll finish off on something like that.
There was Hay Street's like a main street of Perth. That's where they got the mall.
It's like George Street or something in the
George
city.
Street and Pitt Street and that type of thing.
Yep.
Well,
what year was this? This was 80 something.
No, it should have been 96.
Right. Yep.
96.
Yep.
And the courts are there too.
Yep.
And now they've built a new courthouse straight across the road, but they've still kept that. But that was back then. That was the district court and the magistrates' court.
Yep.
And then you had the Supreme Court, of course, where I escaped from down in the Supreme Court Garden.
Yeah, right? That was good, yeah.
But on this day, I had a court appearance, and I was sick. I was sick. I was feeling sick, and I didn't want to go to court. And my lawyer's office was straight across the road from the courts.
Right.
Right. But underneath my lawyer's office,
Yep.
was an ANZ bank.
Right.
Right. So, as I'm walking into my lawyer's office with my girlfriend at about, I don't know, 9 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
they're getting all the money ready, and they haven't opened the bank doors yet, but through the windows I can see all these bricks of cash.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I wouldn't mind that.
It could help.
Wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
Well, I'd driven to court, and just so happens in the boot of my car, there happened to be like a robber's kit, like a balaclava and a
Screwdriver,
shotgun, and that type of thing.
Gloves, whatever, yeah.
And
no way.
anyway, as I'm going up to my lawyer's office, I've seen this, and I've mentioned it to my girlfriend Nicole. I said, have a look at that. Jesus, I feel like going to court. So I've gone up and I've said to my lawyer, can you get me a remand? I feel sick, I don't really feel like going to court. Can you say that I'm sick? Brad, come with me now. I'll get you in and out straight away, and it'll only take you 10 minutes. It'll take us 10 minutes. I know the person there will get us in front.
Let's wrap it up. Yeah.
So he's taken me across. By this time the bank's open.
Yeah.
And at the front of the courthouse, all the police cars parked.
Yep.
And then you've got all these coppers in uniform leaning up against their cars, having smokes and coffees.
Yeah.
They got their backs to the bank.
Yep. Yeah, right.
So when we've come out from the court,
I've
walked back across, and there's a few coppers there, and said goodbye to Mark, gone and got me car, come up, double parked, said to my girlfriend, just wait there, I'll be back in a minute.
Let's go do something.
Grabbed the thing, gone in, robbed the bank, come out, these coppers are still standing across there,
having
oblivious,
a coffee.
oblivious, and was on my merry way.
In a few minutes.
In a few minutes.
What was the haul on that one, roughly?
Wasn't much.
Yeah.
Wasn't much. Only about 10, I think.
It's 10 still 10
Yeah.
back in the.
Because
Was this in
what
the
happened-
90s? This was the
Yeah,
90s.
this was 97.
Yeah, right. Yep.
Because what happened was I didn't even pull the gun out.
Yeah.
Right. Because
Even better. Yeah.
I didn't have to.
Yep. Yeah.
Because what I said when I was going on, I said, you know what's going on.
Yeah.
And this Sheila, she's just, usually I jump the counters
Yeah.
and help myself.
Yeah.
But this Sheila, because they've had all this money, she's just pushed all
She
these
was very
$100 notes
complying.
across
Yeah.
to me. And it was all bloody hundreds. And
So thank you.
yeah, and I wanted to get out of there as quick as I could.
as possible. Yeah.
So I was only in there for something like 20 seconds, 20, maybe 30 seconds.
With the cops
With the cops there.
outside having a smoke
But
and a coffee.
usually in the bank robberies that I used to do,
Yeah.
maximum amount of time I'd ever be inside would be 45 seconds.
Yeah. In and out. Yeah.
That's a lot of time.
And that wasn't planned. That was spare of the moment, spontaneous.
That
sort of,
one
yeah.
there
Yeah.
was.
Yep.
The other ones
Were planned,
Were
yeah.
planned. You know what I mean? I'd watch
fucking
it
hell.
and see. You know.
Fucking hell.
But it depends what's going on in your life at the time.
Yeah.
At that time, I was a bit dusty.
Yeah.
So that's why I did it, because I needed the money.
So you come back to the car and your girlfriend, you sort of said, "Oh,
She didn't even know.
Let's go."
She didn't even know what I'd just done.
Yeah,
She didn't even know what I'd just done.
and then later on, did you sort of say, "Where the fuck did you get all that cash from?" It's my shout for lunch. Yeah.
It's my shout.
My
Yeah.
shout.
It'll be my shout next time, Macca. Yeah.
Good on you, mate. Mate, it's been great talking to you. It's part 2 today, Swingers, with Brad Nicolaides, WA. WA Crime and Time. He's given us a few more stories. He's a good man. We appreciate your time. He's come along today, and he's brought his son, Rocky.
He's asleep now.
He's asleep now. Have a look. There you Rock. You're all right, mate. There you go. He doesn't like the camera. No. But he's... It's been terrific having you back, Brad.
Well,
we fucking enjoyed it, mate.
Buddy.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Fantastic.
And we've got plenty more coming up. That was episode 28, Swingers. Please like and subscribe. And I thank the 365 swingers out there now, our subscribing swingers. It's lifted. The first one we did, we had 184. So it's on the rise. It is, mate. And we're coming up to 50,000 views for the 27 we've done. This is number 28. So we really appreciate it, swingers. Thanks very much. We're going to get to that 1,000, and I can sell my clothes and my stuff, but I'm not giving up. I refuse to give up. I'm going to keep pushing on, and because there's so many interesting stories to come out. We've got 2 really interesting ones coming up soon, which you'll be surprised, very surprised. We're predominantly crime, but we're going to throw the oddball in there shortly as well, with something a little bit different, which isn't crime, but it's still on the old school theme, and I'll announce that soon. And once we've done one of those, we're straight back to crime, and we've got a real interesting one I'm working on now coming up with, and a very interesting guest, and it'll be a first for Macca's Old School. So like and subscribe. Bite Cafe, thank you very much. Monash Road, Gladesville. All Good Plate at Gladesville Shopping Village. Thank you for their support. And of course, Marcus Storm Video Studios at Monash Road at Gladesville as well. People like this give us support and help us out. And we're really grateful. We love this, you guys. It's good on your swingers. Thanks for all your support. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Rocky. It's been fucking great today. And it's good to see you again, mate. You're looking well.
Get behind Macca.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Thanks very much. We really appreciate it. Thanks a lot, swingers, and we'll see you soon. Bye.